Today we are going to be looking at a test prep question on IPV, or intimate partner violence. Hello and welcome back to my channel, Mental Health with Melissa. I'm Melissa. If you're new here, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more content like this. I have new videos every single Sunday and Wednesday. I am a licensed clinical therapist, an Lcsw, a clinical supervisor, and a PhD psychology research student. Subscribing to this channel really helps me get information out there to our mental health communities and mental health information to our communities of color, and also Lcsw test prep question information and mental health provider information to those that are interested in mental health professions. So today we're going to be doing another Lcsw test prep question, so stay tuned. So today we are going to be looking at a test prep question on IPV, or intimate partner violence. So before we do that, I do want to give just some information, some brief psychoeducation on what IPV is. So intimate partner violence is a serious, preventable public health problem that affects millions of Americans. The term IPV describes physical violence, sexual violence, stalking, or psychological harm by a current or former partner or spouse. This type of violence can occur among heterosexual or same-sex couples and does not require sexual intimacy. So you can find more information about where I cited this from on the Center of Disease Control and Prevention website. And I also did want to bring in the term domestic violence. DV is often used to describe IPV, but the difference between DV and IPV, because I'm sure many people have this question, DV can occur between a parent and child and siblings or roommates. Intimate partner violence, IPV, can only occur between romantic partners who may or may not be living together in the same household. So that's why we like to distinguish DV from IPV. So now that we have got some information out about IPV, let's go ahead and jump right in to this test prep question. During a therapy session, a client tells the social worker that her spouse broke her arm while she told him about her meeting with a coworker. The client expressed, "He just gets jealous and I know it is because he loves me." She states that this week he apologized and purchased tickets to the Bahamas for a romantic trip to make it up to her. What is the best way for the social worker to respond? Okay, so let's go ahead and break down the question before we actually explore the options. As I discuss in all my other videos, pause here so then you can read it and pick the answer that you think best fits, and then you can compare it and contrast to some of my rationale. So during a therapy session, the client states that her spouse broke her arm when she was telling him about a meeting. He just gets jealous, but he knows he loves me. And then this week he apologized and bought tickets for a romantic trip to make it up to her. What is the best way for the social worker to respond? Best is a key word here because it's not the first thing that we do, it's not the next thing that we do, but the best way. The test is judging our ability to determine the best way to respond to this given vignette and situation. Option A, explore what the client did to upset her spouse. So by choosing A, or by exploring what the client did to upset her spouse, this is very minimizing and invalidating to what she went through. So this is placing blame on the client, because by doing this, we're determining that it was something that she did to make her spouse harm her or physically harm her and break her arm. So this does not seem like a very good answer. In fact, I think that it can be a harmful answer, so that's going to definitely not be the correct answer. Option B, contact the authorities and have the husband arrested. So this can cause a lot of issues because you have confidentiality and privacy within this. If we're thinking about limits to confidentiality, IPV is not one of those limits unless it affects an elderly, disabled or person or child. In this case, in this vignette, none of that is mentioned. So, and we're assuming that this is a woman that is not elderly or disabled. So, because there's nothing of that mentioned in the vignette, the test is not going to assume that the client is any of those things unless they actually say it. So contact the authorities. That could definitely have ramifications and harm the client further. So we don't want to do that. Option C, create a safety plan and provide support and psychoeducation. Okay, so if we know about working with victims or survivors, I should say, of violence, then we know that a safety plan is usually a go-to thing to do. So with suicide prevention planning, we like to come up with safety plans, and the same thing goes with IPV. It's really important to have safety plans, what to do if your client is in a situation where she wants to escape. And so there are ways to do that in safety plans. Providing support means that you're really there to be a soundboard for this client, because who knows what her family or friends have already told her. In a lot of IPV cases, there's been a lot of separation already from the perpetrator will create a wedge between the relationships that their partner has and their family and loved ones. So we really want to make sure that we provide support. And then psychoeducation. So I'll go over more of the psychoeducation piece in a minute, but let's look at the last option. Option D, refer the client and her spouse to couples counseling. So if we've been studying for the LCSW exam, then one of the things that we know is that it is unethical to refer a client and their spouse to couples counseling when there's domestic violence or intimate partner violence involved. We don't want to do that because that can further harm the person in the relationship that is being physically or emotionally harmed. So we don't want to do that. That's not best practice. So in this case, the option is going to be C, create a safety plan and provide support and psychoeducation. Now, if we're looking at providing psychoeducation, then this is what we're talking about when we say providing psychoeducation. If you haven't heard or seen this, this is called the cycle of violence. So the cycle of violence, it probably doesn't happen in every single IPV case, but it does happen in many. So what happens is the perpetrator or partner that is violent will harm the survivor, and there'll be some sort of physical or emotional abuse that goes on. And then after that happens, the abuser will apologize and want to make it up to the survivor. Just like in the vignette, the spouse of the survivor had mentioned that he bought tickets, to go to a place for a vacation to make it up to her. Now, that doesn't always lead to continual happiness, because with perpetrators or abusers, there's still a lot of underlying aggression and anger, or whatever other mental health related concerns that are not being dealt with. So there is a Band-Aid essentially that's placed, and this is why a lot of people don't want to leave, because there is this honeymoon phase, in addition to a lot of the time survivors depending on the abusers for finances, housing, etc. And so that's why, again, providing psychoeducation is important, as well as the safety plan, so that you can come up with other options in the event that your client wants to leave. So then tension builds, and then the violence happens again. And so what's included in all of this is love, hope, and fear. And so as clinicians, we're not there to tell our clients what to do. We can support and provide psychoeducation. Anyway, I hope that was helpful to you. Please, again, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for more content like this. Until next time, managing mental health matters.